Let's see if you could walk with it. Just take 2 steps. Zhao Yu did not give up and said again. The tiger immediately took 2 steps forward with the fire god cannon. Although he moved slow, he maintained the stability of the muzzle. Sir, in non-combat mode, one can carry this weapon on my back to increase my movement speed. As if he was not satisfied with his performance, the tiger took the initiative to explain. Noted. After all, the barrel of the gun was aimed at the enemy, but it could still take 2 steps. This was indeed unbelievable. All right, leave the fire god cannon aside for now. I'll equip you with ammunition when I get it in the future. Yes, sir. Tiger immediately carried the cannon and slowly moved it to the weapon rack. He untied the leash and placed it properly. The excitement on Zhao Yu's face did not diminish. When the ammunition was ready, even 10 enhancers would not be able to get close to them easily. The sky was completely dark. According to his calculations, it was almost 7 o'clock. Zhao Yu decided to complete the mission. Although his target was the alien, he had the tiger to assist his team now. He was not afraid of guns without bullets. He had already unlocked his cold weapons for combat. Other than the 3 types of military knives, there were also several types of military knives that could be exchanged. Zhao Yu was afraid that it would not be enough, so he exchanged 2 for each of them. Zhao Yu hesitated who should he bring out for this mission. From a sentimental point of view, his safety was paramount, and it wouldn't be an issue to bring all 29 people. While they had enough firearms, they only had about 100 bullets. Bringing so many people wouldn't make much sense. It would be better to ensure bullets hit their mark. Zhao Yu left 8 soldiers to guard the base, giving them only 27 bullets, averaging 3 bullets per person. There were exactly 10 soldiers, 10 land infantry, and 1 special forces soldier, Fierce Tiger. Most of the bullets were allocated to the special forces soldier, Fierce Tiger, and land infantry. After preparations were in place, Zhao Yu led the group on their way. The direction of their daily mission was slightly to the west, a territory Zhao Yu had never ventured into. According to the old maps, it seemed to be where a town was located. The distance from the base was about 12 kilometers, which would take approximately 3 hours by foot. Meng House Village. 20 hours, 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Several lampposts illuminated an open area. Meng Xian, as usual, stood at the forefront on a small stool. Ajan, take care of the house. After a few simple instructions, she commanded, all family warriors, follow me into battle. She took the lead, jumping off the stool and heading out of the town. More than 30 fully armed warriors, under the watchful eyes of the community residents, followed her with great vigor. Su Menglan couldn't help but shout, Sister Ming, you must come back. Others also began to shout, Lady Ming, you must return. Sixth brother, come back victorious. Ah Chong, if you come back alive this time, I promise to be with you. The departing warriors were visibly moved upon hearing this. Several of them couldn't help but turn around, signaling that they would definitely return. Ha ha ha. Meng Xian laughed heartily. Rest assured, everyone. One will bring them back safe and sound. With that, Meng Xian and her group headed towards the solar power plant. In order to gather the supplies from the gathering area of the solar power plant, we lured all the mutants near the western gate. Let's head directly to the west gate. This time, they came to take over the territory, so Meng Xian had to eliminate these mutants to prevent future problems. Soon, the group arrived near the western gate and stopped by the edge of the forest, peering into the electronics factory. There's no movement. Meng Xian turned to someone and asked, Eagle, do you see any mutants? No. Within the crowd, a pair of eyes emitted a faint green glow. After scanning the surroundings of the western gate, he indicated he didn't see any mutants. Not here. Xiaolu, you were the one who lured them away last time. Where did those mutants go? I don't know. I lured them here and hung a happy birthday asterisk light on the tree before one ran off. Never mind then, let's go in and check out. Even though the situation was different from what they had anticipated, it didn't matter. Their purpose was to eliminate the mutants. The group quickly moved out of the forest and walked through the western gate into the electronics factory. Eagle. As soon as they entered, Meng Xian anxiously asked, One don't see any movement. Eagle looked confused and shook his head. I don't see any mutants within my line of sight. Could someone else have lured the mutants away? It's possible. Meng Xian looked puzzled. If we can use this method to lure the mutants away, others can too. Xiaolu nodded. Keep moving. Meng Xian had an ominous feeling but suppressed it and continued leading the group forward. The deeper they went in, the slower everyone's footsteps. When they were maneuvering through the forest earlier, they could occasionally hear voices chatting. But once inside the electronics factory, in this vast space, there was complete silence. No one felt like talking. Everyone's face was filled with concern, their eyes alertly scanning the surroundings. Even in the darkness where they couldn't see far, their eyes were continuously moving, fearing something might jump out. Even Meng Xian did the same, repeatedly calling out to Eagle over a short distance. Finally, just as everyone started to waver, Eagle Eye spoke up. There seems to be a light over there. Where? What they feared the most was this silent dread. Not knowing anything is the most frightening situation. Such torment was too hard to bear. They'd rather face off against the mutants in a full-blown battle, regardless of life or death. I'm not sure, but it seems like there's a light source in that direction. It was too far, and even Eagle was unsure if he saw it right. Then let's head that way. Meng Xian adjusted their direction again. After advancing several hundred meters in the direction Eagle pointed out, they found something. There really is a light source. It's man-made, probably a lamp. A lamp? But all they saw was darkness. Where was this light? However, Meng Xian didn't doubt Eagle's words. After all, his eyes were not only equipped with night vision, but also had a vision far surpassing ordinary people. Moreover, his best skill was so-called dynamic vision, allowing him to track fast-moving objects. Let's go and check it out. Meng Xian urged the group to move on. After covering another few hundred meters, they finally saw the light source Eagle had mentioned. There really is light. By the time they could merely see the light, Eagle had already perceived the situation near the light source. He approached Meng Xian with a serious expression. There's a situation. What is it? The source of the light is coming from some buildings. Buildings? Did some other forces settle here ahead of us? Meng Xian questioned Eagle. No, it might be worse. Eagle looked uneasy. One sees several newly erected buildings there. We didn't see those buildings when we were here 3 days ago. Huh. Meng Xian was stunned and somewhat bewildered. Are you sure you saw it right? Things seemed too strange, causing her to doubt Eagle's words. Meng Xian, I'm not joking. My apologies. Let's move forward and see. Meng Xian wasn't sure about the significance of these new buildings, but decided to approach and take a closer look. Soon, the group advanced several hundred more meters and finally saw the new structures Eagle had previously mentioned. They noticed that where the original electronics factory parking lot had 4 new steel buildings. Each building had a bright lamp outside, illuminating its surroundings. There really are new buildings. Everyone was shocked. Many of them had been here just 3 days ago and were certain that those buildings hadn't existed then. In just 3 days, 4 buildings were constructed. Meng Xian found it absurd. Given official coordination before Apocalypse, buildings like these could never be erected in such a short time without proper professional team, necessary infrastructure, and heavy industrial equipment. It must be a modular house. Before the Apocalypse, there were rumors of houses that could be prefabricated by first creating a framework. Once the framework was made, it could be transported to the desired location and assembled there. Not to mention 4 buildings, even an 18-story building could be assembled overnight. Yes, that's the only possibility. Meng Xian found it hard to believe. In this era, what kind of authority could achieve this overnight? What truly astounded her was not the difficulty of assembly, but how these massive pieces were transported from another place. The main challenges in this era was the lack of communication method between people and the unavailability of usable roads. Sister Meng, there's someone. Someone shouted. Meng Xian looked in the direction, and under the canopy of lights, a soldier in military attire holding a rifle walked by. Uniform? Patrolling soldier. The crowd exchanged glances, startled and confused about why there would be soldiers here. Could it be that they just looted a military surplus store and that's why they have these uniforms?
Impossible.
I've been serving in the military before the apocalypse. The way that soldier walked was very standardized, clearly indicating in a long-term training. There are other soldiers. Everyone realized that there was more than one patrolling soldier. What? Eagle, how many of them? All right, give me some time. After about 10 minutes, thanks to his keen vision, Eagle had a clear understanding of the base's situation. There are 8 soldiers in total patrolling outside. We don't know how many are inside those 4 metal buildings. Meng Xian inquired with many people who has architecture or engineering background, but no one could explain the purpose of those 4 buildings based on their outfit. Those 4 buildings were just too odd in terms of design. No one had ever seen such a style before. They didn't resemble local architecture. With soldiers and the ability to transport metal parts in a short period. Sister Ming, could they be from Black Rock City? Black Rock City? The crowd began to stir. Many had heard of the legend of Black Rock City from Meng Xian. Even though they hadn't been there, they were well aware of its strength. Black Rock City was one of the few cities that could withstand the invasion of mutated beasts. Although they resorted to some tricks, creating something the mutated beasts disliked, they still ensured the city's safety to a certain extent. Furthermore, enviable base of the Reed Group was at Black Rock City, which everyone desired. They also possessed a genetic potion that could transform an individual into a formidable entity. Maybe we should leave. Let's go back. Since this place is occupied, there's no point in us staying. Among the crowd, many were thinking of retreating. After all, the opposition had soldiers and the capability to transport steel structures. A power with such capabilities was not something their small community could resist. But this is our territory. 3 days ago, when we came here, it was unclaimed. Xiao Lu was somewhat unwilling to retreat now. So, how does it become our territory when they occupy it? Meng Xian, what should we do? Some didn't want to retreat and sought Meng Xian's opinion. Leaving now and acting as if nothing happened was the best course of action. After all, this electronics factory was near their gathering place, and she too was reluctant. It might not be entirely bad. I've been to Black Rock City. No one from there would think of expanding to a place like this. They probably have a mission to accomplish, and maybe they'll leave once it's done, Meng Xian spoke to the crowd. Someone questioned, but they've already set up the steel structures. Yes, such things are undoubtedly expensive. Just the cost of transporting them by helicopter must have been significant. Would they go to such lengths just for a simple task? The crowd quickly split into 2 factions. One group strongly opposed staying before being discovered, avoiding unnecessary trouble. The other group, although fewer in number, consisted of enhanced individuals and thus had a say. Let's send someone to investigate. If they're only here for a task and plan to leave afterward, it might not be bad for us. After some thought, Meng Xian finally decided to send someone to find out more. Forget it, I'll go personally. These soldiers trained all day, and their marksmanship was definitely top-notch. Other than her, everyone else was in danger. No way, Meng Xian, you're the leader. How can you take risks at a time like this? Exactly, you're our backbone. If something happens to you, Meng House Village would fall apart. Everyone tried to dissuade her. Meng Xian, let me go. I have enhanced speed. If something unexpected happens, I can't escape. Xiao Lu voluntarily to send him. Yes, Meng Xian, let Lu go. After some discussion, they finally decided to send Xiao Lu to scout the situation. Eagle, take your sniper team and find a good position. Ensure Xiao Lu's safety from distance. Don't be afraid of them. If Xiao Lu is in danger, kill if we have to and run away. She knew Black Rock City well. Although they were strong, it was far away from them. Mobilizing troops would be time-consuming and cumbersome. By the time they would act, they would have already escaped. Soon, the group split into 3 directions. Xiao Lu went ahead to scout. Eagle and his sniper team took respective positions to cover Xiao Lu, and the others stayed behind, ready to rush in for support if necessary. As the snipers left the group, Eagle instructed them before dispersing, "Wait for my gunshot. When I shoot, you all shoot too. But keep one thing in mind, don't kill. Aim for their arms, just incapacitate them." Eagle knew well that killing and injuring were two different matters. Killing would be seen as a direct provocation without any room for negotiation. He identified 8 patrolling soldiers, ensuring that bullets wouldn't concentrate on a single individual before they all spread out. Xiao Lu unloaded all his firearms and ammunition and walked towards the base alone. This time, he didn't hide his presence and walked boldly toward the base. When he was about 70 to 80 meters away from the base, the patrolling soldiers finally noticed him. Warning: military zone, no unauthorized entry. All 8 soldiers quickly gathered, aimed at Xiao Lu from a distance. I'm a civilian, don't shoot. I'm hungry, do you have any food? Xiao Lu quickly raised his voice. He continued to approach and trying to get closer. On the base's side, the 8 soldiers kept their guns aimed at Xiao Lu, repeating warning Xiao Lu. Xiao Lu acted as if he hadn't heard. When the distance between the two parties closed to 50 meters, the alert command left by Zhao Yu for the soldiers was triggered. Bang! A soldier fired at Xiao Lu's feet. The moment Xiao Lu heard the gunshot, he instantly jumped to the side. Hidden snipers in the vicinity felt a sudden urge, awaiting Eagle's signal. Eagle realized that things couldn't end peacefully. Holding his Kar 98K sniper rifle and fired. Bang! The bullet swiftly traveled and hit one of the soldiers in the arm. Following that gunshot, the other snipers began firing as well. In just a few seconds, 5 of the soldiers had injuries. Charge! From the back, Meng Xian attacked, disregarded all else, and led her group to rush forward in support. Enemy attack. Eliminate the intruders. At that moment, the emergency measures in the minds of the soldiers activated. The uninjured soldiers now aimed for Xiao Lu's head, while the injured ones put away their rifles and drew their handguns. Bang!
Bang! Bang!
The scene was chaotic, and after a round of gunshots, it went silent. Zhao Yu had only left 27 bullets for the soldiers, which were quickly expended. However, they showed no signs of retreat. They pulled out bayonets and prepared to fight hand-to-hand. Don't shoot. Let the enhancers handle this. Upon realizing that many of the opposing soldiers had been shot, Meng Xian quickly issued the command. Soon, with the cooperation of snipers and enhancers, all 8 soldiers were subdued, each hit by 2 bullets. Stop their bleeding and bandage their wounds. Meng Xian still felt a bit anxious, fearing fatalities. Boss, their guns are out of bullets. Huh. The loots they collected were 8 rifles, 8 pistols, and 16 military knives. Almost all the bullets in the rifles and handguns had been used up. Did they fire that many shots? From her memory, it seemed the enemy soldiers had only fired a few shots before they all switched to bayonets. Soon, all 8 soldiers were tied up with ropes. Eagle and others remained hidden, ready to face any reinforcements that might come. We've been fighting for so long, and no one from the buildings has come out. Could they be empty? Previously, Meng Xian's plan was for them to keep an eye on the 4 buildings to prevent reinforcements from inside. From the start of the battle to its conclusion, all the doors of the 4 buildings remained tightly shut with no signs of anyone coming out. Xiao Lu approached one of the iron doors and knocked with the barrel of his gun, but received no response. Some began to interrogate, pressing the 8 captured soldiers for information. No matter how they were threatened, none of the soldiers uttered a word. Sister Ming, something's not right? What's wrong? You know my interrogation skills. Even if one had a pig, it would grunt in sequence once it's in my hands. But these soldiers, each one is incredibly resilient. From the start until now, not one of them has said a word. She went over to have a look. Several of the soldiers had bloody holes on their fingers, but they just stared at everyone expressionlessly, as if they couldn't feel any pain. Elite soldier. The only word she could think of at the moment was this. Such soldiers weren't something ordinary forces could train. Are they from the Black Rock City Lord's mansion? She felt uneasy and spoke up. Who are you people from? After repeatedly asking without a response, someone couldn't hold back any longer. Sister Ming, should we kill them? Sister Ming, we can't open the doors to the 4 buildings, Xiao Lu returned with his group. To forcibly break in, we might need to use bomb. What should they do now? Meng Xian had hoped that by capturing these soldiers, she could extract some information and determine the next course of action. Who would have thought that these soldiers would be so tight-lipped, refusing to utter a word no matter what? Such loyalty and resilience made her believe that only a significant power could train them. We can't kill them. There are surveillance cameras on their doors. They've already seen us. Damn it. Destroy the surveillance. Are you stupid? The footage they've captured will definitely be stored. Unless you can get in there and erase the surveillance content. The group continued to argue back and forth. Initially, she thought it might just be personnel from some company in Black Rock City, but the performance of these 8 soldiers was unexpected, not something an ordinary small company could afford. Given the immense effort to transport these 4 steel buildings here, they wouldn't just give up easily. When they learn that their soldiers have been attacked, they will undoubtedly send more, possibly even including enhancers. Meng Xian was very aware that as a 3rd-level enhancer, she might be someone significant in the wasteland. But in Black Rock City, 3rd level is just an average. There are many stronger than her. Right now, she was unsure of what to do. Sister Ming, we haven't killed anyone yet, so there's still some chance to negotiate. If we kill them, it's over. Eagle seemed to notice the group's intention after returned. So what do you suggest? Meng Xian was out of ideas. If we kill them, we'll have to relocate our settlement, and who knows how many will die along the way. That's not a good solution. So, we don't kill them for now. These people are so resilient. Their force behind must be significant. We might need to negotiate with them. How do we negotiate? Meng Xian found it unbelievable. After what we did to their people, can we still talk? We can. Especially in such times, Eagle remained calm. First, we need to ascertain one thing. They're from somewhere else, most likely Black Rock City, or even further. This implies that they are beyond their reach here. No matter how strong a power they might hold in their territory, they are clearly understaffed here. Otherwise, there wouldn't be just 8 soldiers patrolling these 4 buildings. Furthermore, we've been fighting for so long, and no one has come out of those 4 buildings. There are only 2 possibilities. 1. There's nobody inside those 4 buildings. 2. Those inside the buildings are all non-combatants. I lean more towards the second option. After all, with such impressive buildings, the likelihood of them being empty is low. So, are all the people in these buildings researchers? In that case, regardless of who backs them, their primary objective here is most likely research-focused. And since we are the local force, we could potentially cooperate with them. After all, a mighty dragon does not suppress the local snake. These 8 soldiers refuse to speak, which suggests they've been trained extensively over a long time. So, we can wait for someone in charge from their side to arrive and see if we can negotiate. Eagle explained his own solution toward this situation. Meng Xian hesitated. The people on site were divided into 2 camps. One camp advocated for killing the 8 soldiers and then immediately returning to their settlement and relocating elsewhere. The other camp favored staying put, waiting for the leader of this power to arrive for negotiation. But both sides were clear on one thing. The power backing these 4 buildings was mighty and not something they could easily contend with. Sister Ming, don't hesitate. Once we kill them, there's no turning back? Yes, should we just relocate our hard-built settlement just like that? Meng Xian contemplated for a long time and eventually decided to stay and negotiate with this mysterious organization. A significant reason for this decision was her belief that no matter what, they had limited personnel they could dispatch. With their current strength, they might stand a chance against them. If negotiations failed, they could still flee, unless the opponent decided on actions that harmed both parties, like deploying helicopters to hunt them down. Few, if they come, they'll likely send helicopters. In that case, the rest should stay hidden, leaving a few here to keep an eye on the prisoners. Once their reinforcements arrive, we'll surround them first and determine if negotiations are possible. This is Hanjia Ditch Town? After 3 hours of trekking, Zhao Yu and his team finally arrived at the mission location. The small town was modest in size, consisting of only 2 streets. At a glance, it was shrouded in darkness, devoid of any inhabitants. Let's go in and take a look. Zhao Yu decided to get a closer look. Zhao Yu bent down to inspect the ground, which was covered in dust. It appeared to have been undisturbed for quite some time. Would aliens come to a place like this? Midway down the street, Zhao Yu suddenly heard the sobbing of a woman. Such a sound in the dead of night gave him quite a scare. With the 20 soldiers around him brought a small measure of comfort. He led the soldiers towards the source of the sound. They arrived at a street-side shop and the noise was coming from inside this building. Stop crying. What if you attract the monsters? He faintly heard someone's voice. There were really people here. Perhaps they've already been visited by the aliens. With this thought, Zhao Yu quickly made his way upstairs. Who's there? As he ascended the staircase, a panicked voice echoed from inside the room. 5 figures stood in the corner of the room, armed with makeshift weapons like wooden sticks, staring fearfully in his direction. Don't be scared, we're humans. Zhao Yu tried to reassure them. However, the room was pitch black, making it difficult to discern anything. He signaled one of his men to light a torch. The room was instantly illuminated, allowing Zhao Yu to assess the situation. 3 men and 2 women, unarmed except for the tree branches in their hands. The faces of the 2 women bore tear streaks, indicating they had just been crying. Upon seeing Zhao Yu and his team's attire, the 5 individuals' faces filled with terror. Do you recognize me? Zhao Yu was startled, realizing these people seemed to know him. The man leading the group immediately knelt down, repeatedly bowing in supplication. Sir, please spare us. The other 4 followed suit, also kneeling down in submission. Are you all from the fallout shelter 12988? However, the 5 people seemed to not hear him, continuing to beg for mercy. You've misunderstood. I'm not here to harm you. Zhao Yu was confused by their action. After much persuasion, they finally stood up. I'd like to know what happened to your group. The 5 seemed bewildered, unsure if Zhao Yu was playing tricks on them. But given the circumstances, they had no choice but to share their story. It turned out that not long after Zhao Yu had left, they were sent to a neighboring chemical factory. Naturally, this lured out numerous facehuggers. They fled with the crowd, but upon returning to their shelter, they found it sealed shut. Many were trapped outside till midnight, and some unknown monster began a relentless massacre. Unable to bear the horror, they escaped with a group. As they fled, many perished and leaving only these 5 survivors. Based on their description, an image of the alien formed in Zhao Yu's mind. It closely resembled those he'd seen in movies: a round head, a spike on its back, a body covered in black armor, moving incredibly fast, impervious to bullets. When was the last time you saw the alien? The last time? About 3 hours ago, they recalled. Zhao Yu nodded, rest assured. I'm here to eliminate those creatures. Really? Of course. Find a sealed space to stay in. Leave the rest to us. Zhao Yu instructed. He immediately exited the room. From what he knew of the aliens, they were natural-born killers, silently lurking and incredibly swift. Their armor could deflect bullets, and they possessed a sharp spike capable of piercing through hardened steel. Light more torches. Outside the room, Zhao Yu ordered his soldiers to illuminate the surroundings. In this darkness, while the aliens could sense their heat, humans had only their sight. It was better to have more light. As for how to kill the alien, Zhao Yu had a plan. They could artificially create a confined space to limit the alien's mobility and then concentrate their firepower to eliminate it. After circling the town, they didn't find any suitable battleground, except for one place Zhao Yu was reluctant to consider. Standing before a dried-up sewer entrance, he decided that this was the spot. 2 of you, go check inside. As the 2 soldiers entered the sewer with torches, they startled various rodents and insects, which scurried away. The flames revealed the sewer's interior. Zhao Yu noted that while it was smelly, it wasn't as filthy as he imagined, given its long disuse. This will do. Prepare to set up traps. With a plan in mind, he began directing his soldiers. Are we really just staying here? Back in the previous room, the 5 survivors peered out the window. After Zhao Yu departed, they voiced their concerns anxiously. We can't stay. The monster were clearly created by them. That's right. We're all the white mice if we keep staying around with their experimental subjects. The few of them naturally linked Zhao Yu to the facehuggers. After all, Zhao Yu had previously mentioned he has things to settle at the chemical plant. However, when they arrived at the chemical plant, they didn't see Zhao Yu. Instead, they were confronted by a horde of monsters. What do we do now? Run. After a brief discussion, the group felt that they couldn't trust Zhao Yu. Soon, the five of them quietly left the room, running in the opposite direction of the light. Hurry, before they notice us, let's get further away. Even after they left the small town, they didn't let their guard down and continued to run further. At that moment, an odd-looking creature hung upside down on the trunk, looking down at them and in the direction where Zhao Yu and his team camped. Although the creature had no eyes on its head, instead, it relied on pheromones to locate its prey. This was the alien that Zhao Yu and his team were planning to eliminate. After hesitating for 2 seconds, the creature swished its tail and pursued the direction where the five had fled. Blocked this way too. In the sewer, Zhao Yu directed his soldiers to block all entry and exit points, leaving only one way in and out. With the confined space and soil wall to cheat its pheromones, once the alien determined this is the only entrance, its advantage would be lost. A horrifying scream echoed from afar. What's going on? Zhao Yu quickly realized that the alien might have attacked the 5 survivors in the town. He hastily led his men towards the room where they had encountered the 5 previously. When they reached the house, they found it empty. The whereabouts of the 5 were unknown. At the same time, another scream sounded from outside the town. Did they escape to outside? Zhao Yu reached the edge of the town and hesitated. The forest was the worst place to battle the aliens. Given the alien's agility and speed with its climbing ability, the forest was its home turf. It could kill them however it wanted. Several figures emerged from the woods, running towards them. Hold your fire. Zhao Yu noticed that the figures weren't moving fast like the aliens. When they came closer, as he had suspected, it was 3 of the 5 survivors. Help us. The monster. The 3 were terrified and rushed into the crowd. What happened? Zhao Yu asked in a deep voice. There's a monster. What about the other 2? They're dead. Zhao Yu was speechless. He had warned them earlier not to run around and to find a sealed space to stay in, but they didn't listen. Zhao Yu shook his head and said, "Let's go. 1 foot 11 inches take you all to a safer place." He turned and headed towards the sewer entrance where they had previously set up traps. Although the 3 survivors were a bit skeptical about trusting Zhao Yu and his soldiers, they felt safer with humans than with monsters and followed willingly. The group quickly arrived at the sewer entrance, without encountering any alien attacks along the way. This showed that the alien was intelligent, avoiding ambushes when there were too many people. Inside was clear. You all just stay deep inside until I take care of the alien, then you'll be safe. As he spoke, he handed each of them a torch. The 3 took the torches hesitantly, only entering the sewer after Zhao Yu urged them on. Zhao Yu also proceeded down the sewer, positioning his soldiers at ambush points as per their plan. As the 3 survivors went deeper into the sewer, they realized Zhao Yu and the others weren't following them. Do you think they're deceiving us? What do you mean? They must be the ones who brought out that alien creature. When we escaped the town earlier, we were chased by the monster, but when we walked with them just now, it didn't appear. But they seemed like they were genuinely setting up an ambush for that creature, one of the women said hesitantly. They quickly reached the end of the sewer, or more accurately, the end blocked off by tree trunks and mud. It's blocked here. It was them. They must want to trap us here to feed that creature. Through the torchlight, they were sure that Zhao Yu and his men were just nearby the entrance and hadn't ventured as deep as they did. We can't stay here. The man among the 3 seemed terrified the most and started trying to move the obstacles blocking their path. The 2 women were shocked. What are you doing? Escaping. Do you still trust them? The man replied without looking back. The 2 women exchanged glances, unsure of what to do. One of them hesitated for a moment before joining the man in moving the obstacles. The remaining woman was on the verge of tears. Don't do this. We didn't listen to them earlier, and 2 of us died when we left the town. What if we make another mistake now? If you want to stay here to become the feces of that monster, don't hinder us. The remaining 2 people clearly believed that Zhao Yu and the others were in cahoots with the monster and had made up their minds to escape. Soon, the group successfully dig out an opening in the blockade. The man took the lead and the other following, crouched and crawled through. After passing through, the woman looked back and asked the one who remained, Ming Ming, are you coming or not?
E, E.
Ming Wang was extremely conflicted. The woman on the other side lost her patience, then stay here and die. She hurriedly fled with the man through the other end of the sewer. They took the only torch, leaving Ming Ming a bit scared. She stood still, glancing occasionally at the opening in the blockade, and then back at the faint light at the sewer entrance, unsure of what to do.
Ah.
A shrill scream echoed from the other end of the sewer. It's him. The owner of that scream was the very companion who had just crawled out. Ming Ming instinctively wanted to run, but her foot slipped, and she fell. Thud, thud, thud. Rapid footsteps could be heard. By the time Ming Ming struggled to stand, a head suddenly popped out of the hole in the barrier. Ming Ming, save me. It was the woman who had urged her to leave earlier. She desperately crawled towards Ming Ming, but the opening was too small, hindering her speed. Just as she was almost through, half her body was suddenly pulled back, as if something was forcefully dragging her from behind. Help me! Before Ming Ming could say anything, the woman disappeared with a swish. Help! Save me! At that point, Ming Ming couldn't hold back any longer and screamed loudly. At that moment, footsteps sounded from behind. Zhao Yu rushed over upon hearing the noise. With just one glance at the hole that had been opened, he understood what had happened. They must have removed the barrier on their own, and as a result, 2 of them were killed by the alien. 2 soldiers held torches, illuminating the hole in the blockade. The rest of the soldiers held up their guns, aiming at the hole, waiting for the alien to show itself. After a long wait and no sign of the alien, Zhao Yu realized it probably wouldn't emerge from there. He immediately ordered his men to seal off the area.
Bang! Bang! Bang!
A gunshot rang out behind him. Entrance? The alien had circled to the entrance and attacked his troops. Zhao Yu ordered all to return back quickly as he only ordered a few to guard the entrance. Once he almost reached the ambush spot, Zhao Yu saw a sharp pillar in the chest of one of the soldiers. It was the tail of the alien. Yet, the soldier whose body had been impaled by the creature desperately held onto its tail, refusing to let go. At the same time, several other soldiers nearby were grabbing and holding its tail firmly. Zhao Yu, aware of the creature's agility, had instructed his soldiers to capture the alien with all their might. Fire without holding back. Just kill it. Zhao Yu commanded. All soldiers' bodies were cloned, and their brains were controlled by chips, making them more like robots clad in human skin. They have no fear or pain, and this is the point to catch the alien out of surprise. Rat-a-tat-tat. Immediately, the other soldiers pressed their triggers relentlessly, unleashing a hail of bullets towards the creature, heedless of the safety of the soldiers holding onto it. Clank! Clank! Once all the bullets had been spent, all of the 4 soldiers holding onto the creature in the rear lay motionless. Peeking through the gaps, Zhao Yu saw the creature's tail still embedded in the soldier's abdomen, motionless. Go check on it. 2 soldiers equipped with bayonets approached to inspect the scene. The outcome was clear. The alien was still struggling for a while before it died. Finish it off. Zhao Yu, however, didn't rush to see the creature up close. Instead, he ordered the soldiers to deal further blows to its head. They used 3 bayonets, each corroding away, before finally severing the entire head of the creature. Meanwhile, Zhao Yu received a notification from the system. Daily mission completed. Reward, 50 technology points. It was only now that he approached to get a clear view of the alien's true visage. Over 2 meters in length, with a half-meter-long head and a tail stretching beyond 3 meters, its entire body was clad in a pitch-black armor, not much different from the image he had in mind. Sizzling. The alien's blood flowed ceaselessly, corroding a significant pit in the ground. Zhao Yu ordered the obstacles to be removed, preparing to exit from the other end. Is it dead? Is the monster dead? The remaining female student was visibly shaken. Her body was still trembling. Yes. You're safe now. Zhao Yu offered a brief reassurance before following the soldiers out through another exit. He came across the lifeless body of a woman with eyes still wide open in terror. A few steps more, and there was another corpse. Ming Ming, the female student, naturally didn't want to linger. Positioned among the soldiers, she was heartbroken to see her companions who were just fine a moment ago now lifeless. However, she dared not halt even for a second to mourn and quickly trailed behind Zhao Yu. Soon, the group exited the sewer. Along with them was the alien's corpse. Zhao Yu hadn't forgotten that in the recycling furnace, such alien bodies were classified as special flesh, which could be used to create special troops in the future. So, he planned to bring this alien back. As for the fallen soldiers, Zhao Yu had stretchers made to transport and recycle them. That's it, it's safe here now. You don't need to follow us anymore. Meng Meng still shadowing him, Zhao Yu waved her off, indicating she should stay. Please, take me with you. Meng Meng pleaded to go with Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu then took the opportunity to observe her closely. A regular-looking young girl, seemingly in her early 20s. It's not appropriate for me to take you. Zhao Yu pondered for a moment, but leaving her here didn't seem right either. Rubbing his chin, he contemplated recommending her to Meng House village nearby. However, he had duties to attend to. Firstly, I want to clarify, this alien creature has nothing to do with me. We temporarily stationed in the chemical factory for a mission. Whatever's happening there isn't related to us. Yes, I understand. Meng Meng didn't dare to interrupt, nodding in agreement to whatever Zhao Yu said. Good. I can take you to another settlement. But if you talk out of turn, even if you flee to the ends of the earth, I will hunt you down. This threat visibly startled Meng Meng, who hastily assured that she would keep all events, including the encounter with the alien, to herself. Zhao Yu was left with no choice. Their suspicious appearances, military attire, and their stint at the chemical plant coinciding with the emergence of the parasitic creatures made them look like culprits. Only after ensuring Meng Meng's discretion did Zhao Yu resume his journey back to the base. On this expedition, 4 soldiers were lost, a better outcome than Zhao Yu had anticipated. If there was another mission to kill aliens in the future, he knew how to proceed. Brother Zhao, the gathering place you mentioned early was built by a woman?
Yes.
She's a leader. At the same time, she was a strong woman with superhuman ability. Meng Meng had never imagined that in this post-apocalyptic world, a woman could still be in power. In the underground shelter, no matter how the situation changed, it always went from one man in charge to another man in charge. Zhao Yu only briefly mentioned it without delving into the details. After all, he didn't want to see Meng Xian again. She mentioned if she saw him again, she would kill him. Zhao Yu returned to the base after 3 hours. Why is it so quiet? When Zhao Yu realized something was wrong, a group of people suddenly emerged from all directions, surrounding them. Don't move. Put your hands up. Over 30 individuals, dressed differently and armed with guns, surrounded Zhao Yu and his group. Zhao Yu's army, unwilling to be outdone, raised their rifles in response. Zhao Yu hadn't expected his home base to be raided. The situation was even more worse as his soldiers were out of ammunition. Fortunately, the situation is still under control as the opponents cease their fire to avoid fighting fiercely. It seemed to be people under Meng Xian. Cease fire. A woman's voice rang out from the crowd. The group then made way for Meng Xian to come forward. It was her indeed. Who's the commander? Meng Xian surveyed the team and asked, noticing several corpses they dragged along, and one strangely was a monster. She wondered where these people had been late at night. Meng Xian, we meet again. Zhao Yu tapped the soldier blocking his path and stepped out of the ranks. It's you? Meng Xian was not expecting to encounter Zhao Yu here. How did you become a soldier? Zhao Yu patted the centurion rank on his shoulder and smiled lightly. Did you forget that one was a billionaire before the apocalypse? I have a brother who's doing pretty well. One joined him, and he promoted me as a centurion. At this, they found it surprised that Zhao Yu had been a centurion through connections. However, most were curious about how Zhao Yu knew Meng Xian. Meng Xian had previously said she would kill Zhao Yu if she saw him again, but now, given his status, she couldn't act rashly. What's your purpose here? I should be asking you that. You break into our military base and surround us. What's your intention? He looked around and asked, where are the 8 brothers one left in the base? Did you kill them? At this moment, any misstep could be fatal. Though Zhao Yu felt anxious inside, he didn't show it. Bring them over. Meng Xian waved her hand and 8 soldiers were brought forward. With his 8 men were alive, Zhao Yu let out a sigh of relief. It seemed the opposition hadn't acted recklessly without confirming their identities. This meant he needed to act up to keep Meng Xian and her group at bay. You should be glad you didn't kill them. Zhao Yu sneered, looking at Meng Xian as if she were already dead. What the hell did you just say? Do you want me to shoot you down? Several of her men couldn't take it and raised their guns, eager to act against Zhao Yu. Meng Xian quickly stopped them. What are you doing? Am I dead? Do you need to act on my behalf? Xiao Lu immediately backed down, not daring to say more. What did you mean by what you just said? Meng Xian questioned Zhao Yu. Just what one said. Zhao Yu replied her. Zhao Yu responded calmly, though his mind raced, thinking of a powerful faction he could pretend to be aligned with. If Meng Xian and her group knew he was independent, they'd likely kill him without hesitation. Especially now when their guns were empty, leaving them with no chance to defend themselves. Are you with Black Rock City? Meng Xian probed cautiously. Heh. Zhao Yu smirked. Do you think a mere Black Rock City can contain me? He knew better than to claim allegiance to Black Rock City. He wasn't even sure if it existed since he'd never seen it. Meng Xian would also surely know more about it than him. If she found out he was bluffing, they'd be done for. Similarly, the Reed group sounded powerful. Yet, Meng Xian had met with them before, so Zhao Yu couldn't bluff about that either. So, he thought of the organization he'd previously encountered at the chemical plant. Who do you serve now? Meng Xian asked. During the time waiting for Zhao Yu and his team to return, they had discussed how to deal with various potential factions. Rizhao Corporation. Ever heard of it? Rizhao? Meng Xian paused for a moment, seemingly contemplating information about the corporation. Isn't Rizhao Corporation based in the north? Zhao Yu responded without a hint of emotion. Can't we come here? Meng Xian's expression became serious. She wasn't familiar with Rizhao, and Black Rock City did not have a branch of this group. To her intel, this group's power was no less significant than that of the Reed group. What would such a northern group be doing here in the south? With this doubt in mind, Meng Xian asked, What are you two doing here? Don't you think you're asking too many questions? Now, it's my turn to ask you. Why did you come to our base, injure my people, and surrounded us here? Do you want to have a showdown with me? Zhao Yu calmly replied. Meng Xian glanced at the soldiers behind Zhao Yu. Every one of them had a fearless expression, ready to face death if needed. Since she had agreed with Eagle's viewpoint, her intention was to keep the peace. Otherwise, they would have sniped Zhao Yu and his team from a distance as soon as they returned instead of talking now. The reason for surrounding them was to have an advantage in negotiations. We have over 30 people on our side, and you only have around 10. Do you think you can win? Meng Xian countered. My men are fearless. What about yours? Zhao Yu responded coolly. Although he had only taken a brief glance at the 8 tied-up soldiers, he noticed their wounds, evidence of them being tortured for information. Torture on robots could only imply what these soldiers meant in the eyes of their captors. Damn it, do you think we're cowards? Xiao Lu seemed ready to confront Zhao Yu head-on. The others were more cautious. Who would want to die if they could live? However, their expressions did not show fear. Instead, they looked as indignant as Xiao Lu. Shut up. Meng Xian reprimanded Xiao Lu sternly. This was actually their script, deliberately allowing Xiao Lu and the others to play the bad guys. Only Meng Xian did not want to resort to violence, hoping it would facilitate negotiations with the soldiers. However, Meng Xian's strategy was bound to fail. The soldiers around Zhao Yu didn't seem to understand the concept of fear. They stood steadfast, emotionless, resembling war machines.
N11.
Someone discreetly swallowed hard in anxiety. After a pause of 2 seconds, Meng Xian began, Let's lay our cards on the table. You already know about our gathering place. We came here with the intent of clearing out the mutants in this area and relocating our base here. We discovered several new buildings and some soldiers, so we sent people to inquire about the situation. But unexpectedly, your soldiers opened fire, so we captured them. The reason those 8 are still alive is that I wanted to negotiate with you. Talk about what? Zhao Yu asked nonchalantly. Rizhao Corporation is indeed a significant force. But your main base is in the north, so it should be challenging for you to mobilize troops here, right? To prevent any retaliation from your side, we could kill everyone here, relocate, and it would be difficult for your people to trace the deed back to us. But that's not worthwhile. Fight to the death seems rash. Moreover, we haven't entered the 4 buildings, so we don't know what you're researching inside. We haven't touched any of your secrets. So, one want to negotiate. If we let you go now, can you spare us? Xiao Lu and his group looked guilty, a stark contrast to their previous arrogant demeanor. All bark and no bite. Zhao Yu felt relieved, thinking he made the right gamble. Their safety seemed assured. Now, he had to think about how to negotiate in a manner that was both smooth and consistent with their personas. You didn't enter the base's 4 buildings? Zhao Yu turned his head, acted as if he wanted to see for himself. In fact, Zhao Yu was well aware that aside from him and his soldiers, no one else could access the 4 buildings of the base unless someone blasted it apart, which would also imply the base was destroyed. Meng Xian waved her hand, and a path opened up in the crowd, providing a clear line of sight to the base's location. After scrutinizing the buildings and confirming they were undamaged, Zhao Yu gave a slight nod. You should really be grateful that you didn't open the base's main gate. Otherwise, even if we died, the Rizhao Corporation would chase you to the ends of the earth until you're completely exterminated. These words sent shivers down the spines of Meng Xian and the others. Especially Xiao Lu and his group, they felt somewhat fortunate. It was a good thing they heeded Eagle's advice back then, or they'd be doomed. Although they were unaware of the contents inside those 4 buildings, it surely involved a significant secret of the Rizhao. Once the main gate was breached, regardless of whether they saw anything or not, they would be eliminated. So, there's still room for reconciliation? Meng Xian asked hesitantly. Of course. I've only recently joined the Rizhao group, so it'd be insincere to speak of loyalty. We're all just trying to survive. No one wants to die. Zhao Yu nodded and smiled faintly. Meng Xian nodded in agreement, as there would not be any casualties now. Especially since they had more people on their side, they could potentially annihilate Zhao Yu and his group, albeit at a cost. How can I be sure that after we leave, you won't come after us? Do you want me to write a letter of commitment? Zhao Yu replied with a hint of amusement. If they spared Zhao Yu today, he might gather more members from the Rizhao Corporation to retaliate in the future. I believe the only assurance I can provide is my promise. I promise not to pursue any grievances against you in the future, nor will one report today's events to the Rizhao Corporation / seeming to grasp her concerns, Zhao Yu said. A promise? Meng Xian was unsure of the significance of his words. The weight of my promise isn't about whether I can fulfill it, but how powerful you are. Zhao Yu continued. How powerful am one? Meng Xian seemed to grasp his meaning. Exactly. Come on, show me. Let's see how strong a level 3 enhancer is, and if you can assassinate me, even amidst a crowd. Zhao Yu nodded. The stronger she was, the more valid Zhao Yu's promise would be. Even if everyone from her base died, she would still come to assassinate Zhao Yu on her own. I get it. Meng Xian nodded and signaled her people to disperse. Soon, the crowd spread out. I am a 3rd-level strength and agility dual enhancer. One can dodge bullets and kill with my bare hands. Meng Xian proclaimed. She casually tossed the handgun from her waist to Xiao Lu, instructing him, shoot at me until RHE magazine is empty. What? With the short distance of only 6 or 7 meters between them. Sister Meng, at this distance, would it be? Shoot. Meng Xian frowned and shouted coldly. She was well aware that the stronger she appeared at this moment, the more fearful Zhao Yu would be of her retaliation, which would make him more likely to keep his promise. On the other hand, if she didn't instill any fear in Zhao Yu, the chances of him seeking revenge in the future would be greater. Though it was frustrating, violence is the law now at this era. Compared to her, Zhao Yu on his own was insignificant. Even someone like Xiao Lu could easily take him down. However, he had the Rizhao Corporation and a brother powerful enough to place him in a leading position within the group. That was his strongest base card. Here it comes. Biting his lip, Xiao Lu gave a couple of warnings before finally pulling the trigger.
Bang, bang, bang.
8 consecutive gunshots rang out. Meng Xian stood her ground, her feet firmly planted. Her upper body seemed to produce illusions, flickering continuously. As the gunshots ceased, the illusions converged back into one, and she returned to a standing position. Looking at her from head to toe, she was completely unscathed. Dodging bullets on the spot? Zhao Yu hadn't expected a level 3 enhancer to be this formidable. Dodging bullets from just 5 or 6 meters away. Meng Xian felt a bit uneasy at the moment, fearing that Zhao Yu would see through their ruse. Back in their camp, she had trained Xiao Lu's evasion skills using a handgun to attack him. However, they weren't this close during training. To prevent serious harm to Xiao Lu, they had agreed that the 8 bullets would be fired in a fixed sequence. This way, even if Xiao Lu couldn't dodge, he wouldn't get severely injured. To her relief, Xiao Lu had understood her hint and had fired the bullets in the same sequence they practiced. After all, dodging bullets in sequence versus dodging them randomly posed different challenges. With her current strength, evading bullets from 5 to 6 meters away without moving was extremely difficult. Upon seeing the shock in Zhao Yu's eyes, Meng Xian breathed a sigh of relief. She understood that Zhao Yu probably wouldn't act recklessly and would adhere to their agreement. Is this the capability of a third-level enhancer? Zhao Yu suddenly became interested in the elixir. If he also had the power of a third-level enhancer, his safety would be greatly enhanced. How about that? Meng Xian asked with a smile on her face. Leader Meng has impressive SLDLLS. Zhao Yu responded. I will act as if nothing happened today, and will also erase the surveillance footage from the base. Good, our deal has been sealed. Meng Xian laughed heartily, feeling as if a huge weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Now that we've reached an agreement, shouldn't we put our guns down? What if there's an accidental discharge? To be honest, she was genuinely afraid that Zhao Yu's side might recklessly open fire. While she might not die, many of the people she brought with her could suffer severe casualties. Agreed. Zhao Yu nodded and directly ordered, Everyone attention! Roger! All the soldiers promptly bolstered their weapons and stood upright. Their uniform and coordinated movements produced a crisp sound. With just that gesture, Meng Xian and her team were surprised. These are indeed troops from a major force well trained. My goodness, these soldiers are trained like robots, only following orders. Meanwhile, Meng Xian began to admire Zhao Yu for his audacity in ordering his men to stand down first. She turned to her teammates who were still in a state of shock and said with a frown, What are you all waiting for? Holster your weapons.